It's a big day for Democrats who've been raving about how great sanctuary cities are for years.
Sanctuary policies actually make cities safer.
To be clear about what Chicago is, it always will be a sanctuary city.
Together, let us build a house stronger than the coming storms, yet open to the world. A house that provides shelter to all who need it and sanctuary to all who seek it.
President Trump's ready to give these liberals exactly what they've always wanted by saying he may dump illegal immigrants in their cities.
We could fix that in so fast if the Democrats would agree. But if they don't agree, we might as well do what they always say they want. We'll bring them to sanctuary city areas and let that particular area take care of it, whether it's a state or whatever it might be. California certainly is always saying, oh, we want more people, and they want more people in their sanctuary cities. Well, we'll give them more people. We can give them a lot. We can give them an unlimited supply. And let's see if they're so happy.
Nancy Pelosi's home district in San Francisco is reportedly one of the areas that the White House discussed, but for some reason, the House Speaker is upset about it.
I don't know anything about it, but again, it's just another notion that is unworthy of the presidency of the United States and disrespectful of the challenges that we face as a country, as a people, to address who we are, a nation of immigrants.
All right, Geraldo, I don't know if this idea is actually going to happen, but it does serve the purpose of illustrating the hypocrisy from some of the Democrats in this country who say, yeah, bring them in, provide sanctuary city, just not in my city.
Let me start by agreeing that I think that a lot of what the president is saying is born of frustration because of the lack of cooperation by the Democrats on the border. They are doing nothing to help other than making things more difficult. But this is a stunt. You're not going to take this is also illegal. I'm telling you that it is illegal.
Right, because
ask Emily that you cannot use people as props to make a political point like this.
That's what we've been doing for 40 years.
This is
Democrats say Republicans.
The road from the border to wherever the illegal immigrants are being taken will be lined with lawsuits. I guarantee it.
Okay, Emily. I think the restriction is financial. You can't just spend, it costs a lot of money to transport people all the way from the border to San Francisco.
Yes, one of the limitations on it would be budgetary in terms of whether it's considered legal. I want to point out that I just think the biggest issue to me is that the Democrats aren't listening to local law enforcement, and they are not listening to regular people. It's such a top-down discussion, and that is why there's such friction at the local community level that people are upset about. Do you guys remember in February when the woman Bambi Larson was brutally murdered by a 6-time civil detainer request illegal immigrant? He had a history of violent felonies, et cetera. It was, it's kind of one of those token cases of which, unfortunately, there are a lot. Point, guess what happened on Tuesday? The Santa Clara County administration voted overwhelmingly to soften the sanctuary policy because the point is those policies harm communities in multiple ways, including the immigrant community, because it doesn't provide the clarity that they can use to understand how and when they can immigrate legally. And so in Santa Clara County, they're voting to soften it. And as they say, the immigration laws there are dysfunctional. Everyone is confused. And as I always say, whose job is it then to clarify? Get to it, legislators. Instead of squawking about it, go do your job and clarify the policy, and then we can all survive.
All right, Greg.
This headline from the Washington Post, White House wanted border detainees released in sanctuary cities to target Trump foes. So even the media is portraying the very policies that they claim to love as punishment. I mean, if you're going to, they're actually mad at Trump for giving them what they asked for. So let's say it's a stunt. Let's say it's a bad idea. The fact is, if you don't like having these released illegal immigrants there, you have to explain why, because this is your policy. You have created this problem. So if Pelosi thinks it's a stunt, don't say it's illegal. Say, why don't you want them there?
Well, that's a great thing. If you're a reporter in Washington, Pelosi gives her Thursday press conference.
Ask him why
don't they ask Nancy Pelosi
It's going to be a doozy next week. She's going to have a lot to answer for. There's going to be lots of things. A couple things. First of all, I don't think that this policy, even if it's a stunt, let's say it's implemented, I don't think it stops the flow of migrants coming to the border.
No.
Because they're like, oh, well, then maybe we get to go to San Francisco.
I'm going to end up in San Francisco.
Sunny San Francisco.
But it's still
going to Big
brilliant
Sur.
because it is giving.
No, I'm not saying it's not brilliant.
They should
I'm just
embrace
saying
it.
It's not going to address the real problem.
Yeah.
That the president says the major problem is the migrant crisis at the border.
Right.
We're being overwhelmed. We don't have enough resources. All of things. So that's one thing. The other thing, it reminds me of Bridgegate. You know, using your political levers in order to attack your political enemies. And again, I don't think that the president's base needs firing up. I get that it is a great point. It's like it plays mind games with the Democrats. Like, oh, really? Well, then what about you? What are you going to do? The other thing I would say is if the administration, who denied this up until 2 hours before the president tweeted it and said it was going to happen, don't brainstorm in emails. Brainstorm in person, not in emails.
I just think I don't think you can compare it to Bridgegate. I think that it was probably an idea that they put forth, but I do think it does make progress because you're going to force the Democrats to either embrace or deviate from a policy that they believe hypothetically.
But why not
make it reality?
Why not get the Democrats to cooperate with you?
When will that ever happen?
But let the president call Chuck. I love the president, but he's tempestuous and he's thin-skinned. He should call up Chuck Schumer.
Sounds familiar.
Call him up and say, hey, listen, dude. Let's do something before we're really in the heat of the presidential election. We've got 1 million people coming across the southern border. There is the crisis of which you spoke.
But to that point, we have had two parties that haven't solved this problem because they never wanted to. This is the
agreed.
And Trump, being essentially apolitical, let's face it, he was a Democrat for a long time. He's a Republican because it made sense. He is the first person really to say, let's try to solve it for good. He's being the adult in the room.
I don't think that's fair. I think that there are definitely, I would say, look, I worked for George W. Bush. He wanted to solve that problem. The deal that was on the table is the one that's probably going to be the one that is going to be solidified. The people on the extremes, right and left, are the ones that don't want the deal. And that's what pulls people apart. I think President Trump could make this deal tomorrow.
And that's why George W. Bush got 44% of the Latino vote.
All right. But that wasn't the only reason he wanted to do it. I mean, he wanted the border security, but yeah.